HRC. First of all, I'll talk a little bit about the Human Rights Commission itself. Human rights mean a lot of different things in different contexts. And in Somerville, the Human Rights Commission is formalized in a city ordinance that charges the commission with investigating and protecting human, civil, and constitutional rights. So the idea is that if a resident or someone who works in Somerville or lives in Somerville feels like another citizen or a city official has perpetrated a human rights violation against them, then they can submit a complaint to the HRC, which will then investigate the claim and perhaps recommend sanctions against that individual. The Human Rights Commission, as I said, is established by city ordinance, so it's part of city government, but it also tries to distance itself from city government and really kind of connect more with the residents of Somerville. The commission is in some trouble right now. It is supposed to have 12 members. It currently only has 4. And the city solicitor, which is the lawyer of the city, says that the commission can't actually act until there is a quorum of 7. So, and they haven't had a quorum in the past 4 years. So they actually haven't been able to receive these complaints and act on them. And the city is trying to, it's going through a slew of budget cuts, and they're trying to reduce, really eliminate the commission. There are a number of these kinds of social justice-oriented commissions in Somerville, and this past fiscal year they collapsed the position of executive director of all 4 of those into one position to try and save money. And they also disbanded the Multicultural Affairs Commission, which was a mandate from the mayor. It was one of his campaign promises. So my job this semester has been to recruit new members to the commission. And so what I did was sat down with the commissioners and came up with a marketing plan. And I've been designing different pieces of it. This is one thing that we're going to do. It's, there aren't enough for everyone, but so this is the idea is that this will be blown up and kind of go around, and it's kind of self-explanatory. But this is the text of the Universal Declaration of Human Rights that I organized into a shape of the human body, and then this will get blown up, and then they can contact the commission if they're kind of moved to join because of this. But I've had a lot of trouble in recruiting people for the commission. There are questions about where exactly the Human Rights Commission falls in city government. People who are leaders of nonprofits don't want to be too closely associated with the city because they think that it'll hurt the image that they have with their constituents. But then again, there are certain advantages to having the Human Rights Commission be a part of city government. They can get a spot on the agenda of the Board of Aldermen whenever they want, and it's kind of like a pathway into city government to affect this change. But one of the questions that I've had to struggle with is, is kind of a city government body the most effective agent for change in a community like Somerville? And also, I don't think that the Human Rights Commission right now has a good idea of where it fits in the city and how it can best market itself. So, for example, in this past meeting that the Human Rights Commission had, the executive director reported a case where there was a nonprofit in Somerville that wasn't performing services very well. So what she did was she went out and recruited the executive director of another nonprofit that was more effective and developed this mentoring relationship where they can kind of work off of each other to develop best practices. And then this is very effective. It's good for nonprofits to share practices, but is this really the role of a government body? Is it, should this body be facilitating best practices among nonprofits? Or should it be facilitating a conversation between residents in Somerville and then city government itself? So these kind of different approaches makes it difficult to recruit because we're not sure if we're looking for kind of residents or executive directors of nonprofits. So my recommendation, using Heifetz's theory of adaptive leadership, is to, well, I guess first as a refresher, the adaptive leadership is taking different styles to situations so that organizations can do the most work for the issues that they care most about. So I think that the Human Rights Commission needs to determine whether it cares most about facilitating conversations between nonprofits or between residents in the city, and really define where they're located in the community, whether they're essentially a community organization that is backed up by city ordinance, or if they're actually really a government institution. Then they should, based on this, they should adjust their leadership style to target themselves to specific leaders in the community who might be effective in creating these kinds of changes. And this is kind of where I come in. So develop this marketing campaign. Then once all these minds are together, which is kind of after I leave, then they'll develop a list of priorities for the kinds of changes they want to make in the city, and then implement these changes using the leaders that we project.
Comments and questions?